What's going on, all you Minties? This is the Uncanny Omar, and today, join me for the overview of the Saga of Swamp Thing by Alan Moore box set from DC Comics. So, let's get started. And welcome back, everybody. So here we have the box set of the Saga of Swamp Thing by Alan Moore. I love the fact that they also put the artist names on the box. You have Stephen Bissette, John Tettelben, Rick Veitch, and Alfredo Alcala. And it is now a DC Black Label. Sad to see the DC Vertigo no longer on this, but that's been the case with the Absolutes. Here's what the back of it looks like, the spine, if you will. Saga of Swamp Thing by Alan Moore, Black Label. Then you have a hand. So you do have this image of Alec Holland, or Swamp Thing, going across the entire box. And again, Saga of Swamp Thing from the award-winning writer of Watchmen. Boy, they love that. Alan Moore. And it's a great series. It rightly so deserves it. Here is what each of the individual books look like together inside of the box. So these are the softcover editions. These were previously printed before in standard size hardcovers, and I'll do a little comparison here in a little bit, and in trade paperback format like this. Here's what the top of the box looks like. You have this green pattern going across the entire box. And then the bottom of the box, holding it upside down there, is the ISBN with the retail price of $120. And each one of these, when they were originally coming out, the trade paperbacks retailed for $19.99. And there's 6 of them, so basic math, you're spending just a little bit more on a box set slipcase here. So it did come with a little leaflet, this right here explaining what it is. The full groundbreaking run in one place. Now, it's just the outside of the box that has this green design on it. The inside is just purely black. And the one thing I didn't note is the gloss finish to the actual words, Swamp Thing. And then pretty much all the lettering and Swamp Thing himself has a glossy finish to it, while the box, the design of this green, it's just this flat tone. This is everything that Alan Moore wrote for Swamp Thing, so we'll get into it here in a little bit. But first, I did want to again stress the fact that these are soft covers. So here, let's pull one out. People have been asking me, is there any way that was a mistake? Are they hard covers? Nope, they are indeed all soft cover trade paperbacks. So, let's take a closer look at one of these, talk a little bit about the story, and what makes this one of the greatest runs in comic book history. Alright, let's get this overview started. Here we have Volume 1, collecting issues 20 through 27 of the Saga of Swamp Thing. And just a little bit here of credits. You have Alan Moore, Stephen Bissette, John Totleben, Dan Day, Rick Veitch, and Tatiana Wood. That's the probably most important thing to note, is the colors are back to the original colors. Here's your table of contents right here. And there is an introduction. I love that it's called just an introduction of sorts from Swamp Thing's creator, Len Wein, when this particular printing was originally published of this trade paperback. Because for some reason, when DC had previously collected the Saga of Swamp Thing, they started with issue 21. And I understand why. I'm not saying for some reason. Here's another introduction by Ramsey Campbell. And in every collection since then, they've started collecting issue number 20, which brilliantly is called Loose Ends. And I'll talk about some things here. I may warn people of a spoiler coming up, particularly in issue 21. But it is important to note that particular spoiler to talk about why this run is regarded as one of the greatest runs in comic book history. So you do have issues 20 through 27 collected in this, and you have the original colors. And we'll compare it here in a little bit to the absolute colors. So it's really a matter of preference now. If you want the original colors, you get the trade paperbacks, or try to find the hardcovers. And I'll do a comparison with the hardcovers in a bit. But this is Swamp Thing, the character that was created by Len Wein and Bernie Wrightson in 1971. So as the story goes, Alec Holland was a scientist, and he was experimenting with some new chemicals that were going to help the plants around the swamp grow, and there was an accident. And pretty much he became one with the green around him, with the swamp around him. So that's pretty much it. It became your typical body horror type of comic book, which was very popular back then and during those days. Again, created by Len Wein, who went on to create, of course, Wolverine, and then the Giant Size X-Men #1, co-creating Storm, and co-creating Colossus, and as the rest, as they say, is history. And then he was also co-created by Bernie Wrightson, a comic book legend. And I think Wrightson probably is more popular for his horror stuff, but I think the book that put him on the map for a lot of people was indeed Swamp Thing. So one of the biggest questions I get asked about this particular series is, why doesn't this collect issues 1 through 19? Well, that was because it was written by somebody else. Alan Moore comes in and writes this issue to wrap up the loose ends and get rid of supporting cast members that he didn't need, because this is Alan Moore, right? The coming off of Warrior comics, he had so he was writing Marvel Man, and then he came to do this, and this was his first published work at DC. And the other thing to keep in mind is that this was published at DC Comics. It had a DC label on it. This was long before the time of Vertigo. So, what makes this run so classic, so amazing that everybody talks about it and everybody puts it at the top of their list? Well, that comes in issue 21. So at the very end of this issue, and by the way, I'm going to put a timestamp now, just in case you haven't read it and you want to be completely surprised reading this, I am going to be talking about a spoiler. So it's a big spoiler. It's the big spoiler in this particular series. Alright, for all you brave souls that are sticking with me or have read this over and over again, or just don't care about spoilers, at the ending of issue number 20 of the Saga of Swamp Thing, Alec Holland, or Swamp Thing, is gunned down. I mean, he is gunned down. He is dead. He dies. In the next issue, issue 21, the issue that redefined the character, it's the anatomy lesson. And we get a narration here that is not Alec, but turns out to be one of his old nemesis, the Floronic Man. And he is studying the body of Swamp Thing. What makes it tick, what makes it go. Still believing that this is Alec Holland up until the end. Because up until this point, we all know that Alec Holland became this creature. So it's just Alec Holland still. His brain and his soul are still inside of that creature. And the twist at the end of this is that Alec Holland died. Whenever those chemicals landed on him, he died. He ceased to be. Swamp Thing is really the remains of his memories intact to the green that was around him. So it's not Alec Holland. It was just pretty much a bunch of plants believing they were Alec Holland. So this went from body horror to existential horror. This stopped being about how grotesque he looked and more about what is the meaning of the mind, what is humanity, what defines humanity. And that is the big twist and the beauty of this book. And it's all done in one issue in the anatomy lesson. Of course, Swamp Thing comes back for revenge, but let's get everybody else back in here that didn't want to hear that secret, or that twist, rather. Alright, welcome back, everybody that didn't want to know about the twist. So, here we have Alan Moore's Swamp Thing, and this redefined the character for everyone. For everyone that was reading this at the time, he did something within the first few issues that completely blew everyone away, all the old readers, and it got a bunch of new readers to come and check it out, because he did something that created possible future storylines. And we're going to talk about some of, there's the Floronic Man, one of his old nemesis coming back, and he still has this profound love with Abigail Arcane, the daughter of his big arch nemesis that was kind of written out towards the very beginning. Let's look at the second volume. So here's volume 2, collecting issues 28 through 34 of the Saga of Swamp Thing, and also annual number 2. There's your table of contents. Your introduction here by Jabin Delano, who went on to write one of the most iconic characters that Alan Moore created within these very pages. And that is, of course, John Constantine. So, one of the things that I really enjoyed about his run is the artwork. So the artwork really isn't polished, and that's what you need for this type of story. Oh my gosh, that is so amazing. That's the type of artwork that you need here. It's a little bit of a mess, but it makes sense because it adds so much to the horrific things going on in the story. So this isn't just a horror story. There's a lot of beautiful things in here. And I said that as I turned to that page. But this is also a love story, a beautiful love story. It's about death and rebirth. Here, let's keep going. There's the team up with the demon. Here we have issues 35 through 42 of the Saga of Swamp Thing in book 3. And I believe in this volume is the first appearance of this gentleman right here, John Constantine. So as I was saying, it's also a love story. It's about death and rebirth and acceptance and what it means to be human. It's a wonderful story that just spanned through all these issues of a guy that turned into a swamp. That is insane. And it only Alan Moore, yeah, probably Neil Gaiman, they could have done it. But if not for Swamp Thing, we would not have Sandman. If not for Swamp Thing, we wouldn't have the Vertigo universe. That is a strong statement that I stick by, because it's fact. There's no way that if the stories in here had not reached everyone that was collecting comics or reading comics at the time, then I don't think we would have a Vertigo universe. Or it might have been some years before Vertigo could have been created. But let's keep going with the next book really quick. So here we have Volume 4, collecting issues 43 through 50 of the Saga of Swamp Thing, with a forward here by the very same person I just talked about, Neil Gaiman. And by now, this book was winning all kinds of awards. And I want to say during this time, the entire DC universe was going through a crisis, if you will. Yes, this is the American Gothic storyline, where John Constantine pretty much takes Swamp Thing across America, trying to put out these demonic things. But it's more about the road trip and the self-discovery than anything. And this is one of my favorite stories because when you're reading Crisis on Infinite Earths, you get to see the heroic side of things. You get to see the horrible things that are happening in some of the worlds ending. But in here, you really feel it. You really feel like these worlds are crushing and how it's affecting all these people. I always find it interesting to see the DC superheroes appear through these pages. And here is book number 5, collecting issues 51 through 56. I think this is the one with the Garden of Earthly Delights storyline. And here's your introduction by Stephen Bissette, who was probably the main artist on the book. And I say that it's always strange to see, I say that when I looked at the Phantom Stranger, it's always strange to see, or interesting to see, some of the DC characters that appear through these pages. Because this felt like it was such a standalone universe type of story that other DC characters just stick out like a sore thumb. Even though they are needed for, well, this particular story here, that I can't show too much of the artwork because it's kind of a big shocking ending. And here's the final volume, book number 6 in the Saga of Swamp Thing, collecting issues 57 through 64. So all of Alan Moore's stories collected in these 6 issues, and for the first time ever available in one place, and that is, of course, the box set. And you have an introduction here by Stephen Bissette. Now, I was thinking about this when I was flipping through the very first volume, and it's kind of sad to know that both the creators of Swamp Thing, Len Wein, and Bernie Wrightson, both passed away around the same time, like in 2017. And they were both around the same age, too. Way too young. And, there's a lot of sadness that went into these books. Oh, and I forgot to mention earlier about Tatiana Wood, that she was married to the legendary Wally Wood. It's another legend that passed away at way too young of an age. But this is the series that ends Alan Moore's run, this particular book. Let's do a comparison. So you can buy these individually for $19.99, like I said, or the box set, the retail price is $200. Here it is compared. This is the very, very first printing of the hardcover, the standard size hardcover. But this is also in the original coloring. So this has the original coloring. It has this thick matte paper. The paper quality that they use for this trade paperback, it's a thinner glossy paper than the matte paper that they use for the hardcovers. But as I mentioned, it's still Tatiana Wood's colors in the standard edition hardcover and the new trade paperbacks. However, the colors in the Absolute are recolored by Steve Oliff, who has been working as a colorist, oh my gosh, for well over 3 decades, and probably longer. But as you can see, the colors have a more modern look to them. Here, let's look at the next page. Next page is probably a prime example of what modern colors add to these. Now, to me, it's always a preference, right? This is the way I remember it. This is the only way to get it in absolute format. So that's why people were concerned. Are the colors here the new modern colors? And nope, they are back to the original colors. Now, some scenes look so different to me, though. Here, let's look at an example. For example, this scene right here feels like a completely different scene because of the new colors. This is the way I remember it, and then the new colors just completely changed the scene up so much. I get there's a certain beauty to both of them, but I think for me, you know, just having read these so many times, this is the way that I like to keep them. So I'm glad that they're doing it this way. Perhaps later on they'll do a new remastered box set and have not just the original color options to get, but also the ability to purchase one with the new colors in trade paperback box set format. I will say the new colors do polish up some things, and it does make it seem like he is a walking swamp. Of course, they were very limited to the color palettes they could use back then. But if you've not read this, do yourself a favor. One of the most beautiful love stories ever written. Absolutely gorgeous and stunning. To be read, should be recommended reading for anybody that is into comics. And that's pretty much all I have to say about that. That, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing this box set, don't forget to check out our sponsor, cheapgraphicnovels.com, your online home for brand new graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They pride themselves on packaging your books so they arrive safely and in excellent condition, as well as prompt and helpful service. Check out the bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. CGN is excited to announce that they are now taking pre-orders. They're making it easier for you to ensure that you don't miss out on the hottest releases. CGN is currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, let them know that you were referred by Near Mint Condition at the checkout, and you'll receive a credit for free shipping on your next order. This promotion is valid for U.S. customers only. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount and quality shipping and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that's what the box set contains. This incredible, amazing run of Alan Moore's Swamp Thing. Let me know in the comments down below if you're picking up the box set, if you have the Absolute editions, if you used to get the single issues, and more importantly, which color do you prefer? Do you prefer the original colors or the new colors found in the Absolute edition? Do you think that DC should have used the new color masters for this box set? Again, this was the Uncanny Omar. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have any more questions, leave them down below. Don't forget to smash that like button, ring that bell for notifications to let you know when our videos are going live. We are on Patreon and on Spreadshop. Amazing ways to support the channel. And thank you to our existing patrons. Could not be making videos like this without you all. More importantly, all of you, stay healthy, stay safe, and much love.